At this time, I'd like to turn the call over to your hosts, Amit Bhaya, Reed Patterson, and Wes Rangel. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. As you know, my name is Wes Rangel, or as I was introduced by Matthew, and I'm the Director of Business Development here at DotcomWeavers. Today's presentation, or today's webinar, is titled 5 Ways to Supercharge Your Online Business. And of course, it's current for 2017. Things are always changing, but we definitely think that these are the top things that we're going to be discussing here as part of the webinar, and that are key takeaways for how you can improve your website performance and online presence. So the webinar goals will be learning 5 key ways to improve website performance, understanding how to improve your SERP rankings, understanding how to track and use essential website data, learn to create quality, conversion-focused content, planning a content strategy not only for your website but for social media as well, and starting to personalize the experience for your customers, as well as upgrading your social media presence. So these are some goals and takeaways that you'll be getting as part of the webinar. And of course, just to give you a little bit of an abstract, many individuals and companies, they stop at a new website when they're building their online business. But of course, a website is just the beginning, and it's really essential to actively improving, growing, and marketing your online business so that you can have or achieve greater conversions. So in this online seminar, we're going to be discussing critical actions that you can implement today and that will supercharge your online business in 2017, but also beyond. Topics that are going to be covered, we're listing a few here: improving your website performance, creating a winning content strategy, creating a personalized web experience, and optimizing your social media. A little bit about us. This is usually the boring part of the webinar, and we're going to try and keep those to a minimum, but all this information, of course, you can find out about us on our website. We're not here to tell you all about us, but we are a New Jersey-based web design and development company. We do specialize and have a strong emphasis when it comes to e-commerce. We were founded in 2007. We've completed over 350 projects and have about 70 or more employees at this time. We offer e-commerce, web application, mobile app development, SEO, content creation, copywriting, fully responsive design, search engine marketing, social media management, and more. So all of our services are available online. You can take a look at that. But we really are dedicated to customer service, client interaction, and we don't take a cookie-cutter approach in anything that we do. Everything is very personalized and customized for each of our clients, and we look at all of our clients as partners. We're a culture-focused company where we do great work and really enjoy the work that we do. So a little introduction to our speakers. You're going to be hearing from myself, Wes Rangel. I'm the Director of Business Development. Amit Bhaya, who is our CEO and co-founder, and Reed Patterson, who is our content and marketing strategist. So these are some bios about us, but you can read up on them a little bit more once the presentation is sent to you later. And of course, this information is available on our site as well. So getting started, Amit's going to start. He's going to tell you about improving your website performance. And throughout the webinar, you'll see a little introduction to our pal, our mascot Weaver, who's going to tell you things like what you see there, your data, what gets measured, gets managed. So Amit, you can go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Wes, for the introduction. Once again, as Beaver mentioned, what gets measured gets managed is something very critical to your website performance. And when we say that, a lot of us spend, a great amount of time at the aesthetics of the site or the technical back-end functionalities to make sure the site, when it's launched, is going to really perform and give us greater conversions. But sometimes what we don't do is we forget to really look into the low-hanging fruits and what we can really do to some of the items which we should be basic, which we should do really to make sure that we are covering our bases, we are doing our homework, and then continue to grow from that perspective. And when we say that, the key is really, as you look at the slide, is really to be able to track, improve, and measure the performance of your site. And to us, this is nothing but a vicious cycle, because this is something which is always work in progress, and you have to continue on it. As we go through this, the key really here comes down to what's the first aspect, is really tracking, right? So now you spend X amount of weeks building the site, and now it's showtime and your site is live. Now how do I really start tracking the performance of our site? As we look into this, the key is, keep this in mind, that the goal here for us is to understand it's not always about just spending money and adding tools and bells and whistles to really measure and increase our sales. The key sometimes comes down to really making sure that we have a very diligent approach and we are using all the free / really inexpensive tools in the market, which allows us to measure and as well as track the performance of our site. And when I say that, if you see on the screen, we all love Google, and even if you don't love it, you don't have any choice in this space but to love them. And in order to do that, we also have to start embracing the tools which Google has, and how do you really use it to improve and to really start tracking. Some of the tools which we all are familiar with is Google Analytics, Google Webmasters, Google PageSpeed. You must have used it, all of these tools in one way, shape, or form. But what my goal really is to, when we talk to our customers, a lot of them look at analytics as just a numbers tool. They go in to look at their track, they look at their conversions, they look at their bounce rate, they look at their product performance, they look at their organic or paid traffic, and that's where they stop. But I would suggest that as you go into analytics, you have to start digging deeper to really get the data you want. And when I say that, I mean start getting into devices. Look at which devices they are using, which browsers they are on. How can you go into, how can you improve the performance on a specific browser where you're seeing a much higher bounce rate? You should go into the top content on your site to see which content are they spending most time on, and how do you improve on that further. And these are the tools which you really have to start using in analytics itself. Do a comparison between your old users versus new users and see is there a difference, is there a different pattern when it comes to behavior. And believe it or not, a lot of these tools are there in analytics. Analytics has made huge improvements to their own platform in the last couple of years. In fact, now they have updates coming in every few months. And we highly recommend that you start digging deeper into how to really go into analytics and use some of the features it has. Same thing goes with Webmasters. Webmasters is nothing but keeping a good track of the technical health of your site, from crawl errors to your site search visibility to mobile errors. I suggest Webmasters is a tool which you should be looking at every couple of weeks, and there should be a habit so that you could go in and check are there any new crawl errors, is something wrong with my sitemap, so that at least in Google's eyes, you're doing whatever you can to keep your site up to the standards. Google PageSpeed, as the name suggests, is an indicator of how quickly your page loads. And it goes without saying that in this day and age, page speed is one of the leading indicators of, how well your site is performing. It allows you to really measure, which areas you can improve in terms of how you should load your site. Should you be using CDNs to reduce your image sizes? Should you modify your CSS or work a little bit on your JavaScript to make sure your page load time improves?
Hi, this is Reed Patterson, the content strategist. I just wanted to add that load time has a big impact on how many people actually can make it to the homepage of your site. The faster load time, the more people who are going to look at your homepage and hopefully go deeper into it. I'm just going to turn it back to Amit.
Yeah, that's definitely a great point, and thanks, Reed, for bringing that up. Yes, at this day and age, every millisecond matters, right? I mean, and in order to keep that up, Google PageSpeed, yes, it has a score of 1 to 100, and as all of us would like to get 100 on the score, but I would say if we can go past the score of 85 or more, I think our site health is good. And besides Google, because I don't think that's the only tool you should be relying on, there are some other tools out in the market, which like GTmetrix or Optimizely, which you should be looking at it as well, especially in terms of server load times, in terms of user behavior. I mean, these will allow you to track your data better. And once you know that you can track your data, the key comes down to really how do I improve based on what I'm tracking. Now, in order to improve, first, of course, what we want to know is intelligence, right? Intelligence in terms of data and what does that data mean to me and what should I do with that data, as well as what are my competitors doing. And in order to get that into place, we suggest you start using tools like spy tools, like Moz or the ones mentioned here, because it allows you to not only understand the current health and where your site stands in this current format, but also tells you what your competitors are doing, which keywords are driving traffic to their site, which pages are visited the most, how much are they, you will not get every single detail, but you'll get a very good overview of, where are they spending their marketing dollars? Is it in Facebook ads? Is it in Google paid ads or PLAs? And then it allows you to make more educated decisions on what you need to do. Especially in terms of, Moz or Spypoo, these are leading tools in the market. I would highly recommend that you look into one of these and pretty much start, gathering information from there. Now, when it comes down to, these are tools which are mostly used for SEO. Keep in mind, although we say that, these are free tools, in a sense, they all offer free 30, 15, or 30-day trials, but they're not really free. But we would be more than happy to give you a demo of any of these tools because we pretty much subscribe to all of them. But at least the 15 to 30 days initially which you have will allow you to make a much better decision if this is the tool I want to use long term or not. And if you decide to use them, the cost is very minimal in the big scheme of things. And the same thing goes with Crazy Egg or Hotjar and Clicky. They would allow you to really understand your user behavior in detail. Where are my users really navigating on the site? Are they hitting directly the search bar? Are they looking at the banner which I just posted up now? Are they behaving differently on mobile versus desktop? And these are nothing but, I would say, you can also get that data from analytics, but it's not as visual. So I would suggest look into tools like these because they are not only visual, which will help you sell better to upper management, but they are also a little bit more deeper in terms of different devices, in terms of graphs. So, we all like to see graphs. We don't want to see numbers because, numbers makes our head spin. So, that's something we would suggest and something you would start looking at it as well. And keep in mind, this is something which any new site, big or small, needs to do it. New or existing even doesn't matter. Because these are the basics of really in terms of starting to track and improve. Now that you have tracked your site, you have made certain enhancements based on what you found out. The key really is you have to measure your results, How do you measure your results? A lot of times we try to go by our gut feeling, If the sales went up, I see the results are really working. Or if the sales went down, no, the update you made was not good. But we have to get away from these gut feelings and we have to start focusing on what is the data telling us. And in order to do that, and we have the tools to really use that, to really get a better understanding of it. Keep in mind, as we talk about it, this is a vicious cycle. This is always work in progress. You have to track, you have to improve, you have to measure, and then you have to track again. And this will continue till the time you are involved with the site. And that should never be left alone. It is not as complicated as some people think. And certain I would say basic steps, low-hanging fruit will start showing you immediate results. And keeping that in mind, I would like you to, I would like to transfer this over to Reed, who is our content and social media strategist, and he would be talking more about, how to create a winning content strategy.
Thank you very much, Amit. I encourage anybody that has questions to please post them. We'll do our best to answer them during our talks. If not, we'll address them at the end of the webinar. So as Amit mentioned, my name is Reed Patterson. I'm a content strategist here at DotcomWeavers. And I'm going to be talking to you about content, which is everything that populates your social media profiles and your website. And this is the kind of stuff, these are the improvements that Amit is talking about in his mantra for track, measure, improve. So, as you saw on the previous slide, Weaver mentioned that content is king. And in 2017 and beyond, it certainly is. Content is what people interact with. It's everything. It's your copy, it's your images, it's your video, and it's where you're pointing people with your links that hopefully is going to help them solve problems and make buying decisions. Now, creating content is great, banners, blog posts, posts on Instagram, but to really push your brand forward and to accomplish your goals, you need a content strategy. And we define content strategy at DotcomWeavers as simply a structured plan of what, where, and when to post based on your business goals and the needs of your customers. We're going to get involved later on with a sample content calendar so you can see exactly how to do this. Good content strategy is essential for engagement. If you're figuring out how you want to talk to people, how you want to achieve conversions, it's going to improve your SEO. I think everybody these days knows the more content you add to your site and the easier it is for people to find you, the better you're going to perform on search engines and the more people are going to click on your site. Again, content is a broad term. It can be anything. from videos, images, and blog posts, to webinar like this. But what it needs to do is answer specific questions and meet people's needs. And we're going to look a little bit more at content before we get into content strategy. Excuse me, my computer is just loading the next slide. So I'm not going to go through all of these bullet points, but this is a handy checklist. You should print it out or at least keep it nearby. This tells you what great content is. And, great content, just speaking just from a content strategist perspective, it is very relevant to the audience viewing it. It is consistent and fresh. People want to share it. And it has a strong headline or hook. What you've probably seen in the emails that you just send directly to the trash can, and then you see some that have an engaging headline that you just can't help but click. I would encourage everyone to refer back to this slide as we're going to learn a little bit more about what makes great content, and then this is a great checklist anytime you produce anything for your website. Now, we don't want to talk in abstractions. I'd like to just show you an example of great content. This is an athletics brand. We really like the way that the content is structured, and on the right side, you'll see just a few pieces of our analysis as to what makes this great. So, here we have, again, an athletics brand. You can see the content is relevant to the audience that's going to be reading blog posts from an athletics brand. Get out of bed is great, opening to your headline, to your post. This is people who are active, who want to get up early. You can see that's immediately supported by an image that not only, talks about getting up early, shows an athletic person stretching before the sunrise, but it also exudes a look and feel that is relevant to the brand identity that this brand wants to portray. The text you can see below, even though it is, might be a little bit to read, is broken up nicely. There are, certain nuggets of information. You can see a quote, you can see links, and you can see subheads. And then at the very bottom, you can see the beginning of a numbered list. This means that it's easy for people to navigate. They can quickly look for a headline or subhead, find the information they want to go to, and jump to it. They can skip over what they don't need. A lot of people do skimming. So that's just one example of great content. Me, I'm a writer. I, tend to place a lot of emphasis on, crafting great copy because I think images are what supplements copy, but essentially this is how you talk to people. So again, this is a checklist that I'm not going to run all the way through, but anytime you're writing a blog post, even a social media post, you want to make sure that you're hitting as many of these bullets as possible. You want to be concise and to the point. You want to be supporting your brand voice, and, there need to be user-driven benefits involved. Why is someone going to read on? You need to hook them immediately. Again, I don't want to talk in abstractions, so we'll go to the next slide. And here we have two examples of, one would be on the left would be bad copy, and on the right is good copy. On the left here is a sales letter. A little difficult to read right here, but essentially it is a marketing letter from a SEO company trying to reach out to another business to help them take charge of their SEO. What the sales letter does is talk entirely about what the company is able to do, and there is limited discussion about any kind of benefits that the user will be getting. It's also, you can see, it's just a block of text. It's difficult to get through. You're probably not going to even make it to the end, or even that far. On the other hand, on the right side, we can see a simple blog post or newsletter where it has a catchy title. This is just marketing a simple rubber band gun. Enter Bandman. Immediately, that is a fantastic headline. It tells you what it is. It's a little cheeky, and then the copy flows from there. It's broken up. You can see at the bottom when you have a chance to read it that there are significant user benefits posted. The copy carries over the brand voice, and then at the bottom there are links to getting in touch with the brand in other ways through their social media. You can also see that it's supported by images, which are especially important. People are very visual online, and a good image can also be a fantastic hook. We're going to actually look at images a little bit later. Here we are, visual content and images. So again, if you're, especially anyone who's familiar with Instagram is going to know. This is a visual content heavy platform. That's essentially all. It's mobile based and it's driven by images. So you need, you're going to have to apply the same content strategy you saw in the previous slides, keeping things relevant, keeping it concise, and creating a brand identity. You're going to want to apply that to all the pictures. I would strongly advise you against looking for stock images or just searching on Google for something to put at the top of a blog post. That is a turn-on for most people. People demand great, original, personalized content. Wes is going to talk to you a little bit more about personalized content, but again, I'd just like to take a look at these two items here. So the first ad on top is an Instagram post for Tesla. You can see clearly that it's a video, but more so than that, the thumbnail they use shows the Tesla brand. It's a confident guy. It shows who would be using this car. It tells a story. There's supplementary copy on the right, which further enhances what the image is trying to tell, and it also puts people in touch with hashtag Tesla stories. You can see below with pink dot. Now here's an image that might otherwise be intriguing, but the filter they've applied to it just does not make the ice cream look appetizing. Simple things like this will make or break an image. This could be a very, very successful image, but just by the nature of, you need to understand who your audience is and your content and make sure that you're presenting it in a way that the audience wants to see. And so that was just a quick look at what makes great content. And remember, any content you produce, it needs to be tracked, measured, and then improved upon. You need to see what's performing well and what isn't. Be creative, get excited about the content you produce, and see what resonates with your customers and your audience. Now I'm going to turn it over to Wes Rangel, our Director of Business Operations, to talk to you about creating a more personalized experience, which is going to create more engagement for your site. Take it away, Wes.
So here you have a Superweaver reminding you that it's always about the user. So creating a personalized experience is key. And as it's been brought out, in many instances, customizing things so that they're really targeted to who your actual users are is key. This is why the whole user experience research and discovery period is so important. Everyone wants a personalized experience because everyone has different goals. And then you have some statistics here that are really impactful, so it can actually help you in getting your team behind these initiatives. Approximately 75% of users, they get frustrated with websites that display content that is of no use or no interest to them. On the other hand, 60% of users will be willing to trade their information for a benefit, like some kind of a discount, some kind of a loyalty reward, and that's of interest to them specifically. And nearly 80% of users feel that they can trust a brand more if they're convinced that the information that's being provided to them is used in a transparent way that will actually benefit them. So personalized experience means seeing content, images, products, media, all of the things that Reed talked about, but in a way that's relevant for your users' goals. So you have to know who your users are, first of all, of course, and it seems like a tall order, but thanks to big data, it is possible. In fact, whether you're aware of it or not, you've encountered a personalized web experience. There's a couple of examples there. You go on Amazon and you get a related list of products, related products. You see discounts often in exchange for your contact information, usually on the first time that you visit a site. Some good examples: emails about abandoned cart, special offers that show you new products based on your existing shopping behavior, previous shopping behavior. Those can be a little bit creepy sometimes, but you know what? They do cause you to stop and think, and I think everybody's getting used to it by now. And then there's chatbots, live chat that can help you solve your customer service questions in real time. So these are some things that you can take advantage of. How do you start the personalized experience? And it's by tracking and understanding your users and putting them into segments. So you can sort your user segments into data like gender, age, income, things like this, things like that are on this list here. And then there's more. You have to think about who your actual target users may be. There's basic personalization tactics. These are the keys: updating your content, website and social media, for the season or around some other theme, around some kind of event. Creating a variety of different content that will appeal to various segments. Greeting people by name, another thing that can seem a little bit creepy, but people are getting used to it now. So you can auto-populate email greetings with names. Look at industry forums, message boards, see what matters to your audience. Having a blog, having live Q&A, things like that, these are good examples of how you can get this kind of information. And then also examine Google Analytics, as Amit mentioned earlier, to understand the behavior of your different segments. So in addition to those, there's examples of personalization tools. For example, we have virtual Tryon tools. I will definitely give you a little sample of that a little bit on the next slide. virtual buying assistants or VBAs. These are those things that pop up on the side and they actually tell you, are you looking for help, or is this something along the lines of what you're looking for? These are becoming more and more common. Visual search. You have an example on the right-hand side. It's a very personalized example. Users can take a picture of something they love and then afterward get the guidance that they need to find it online and even buy it without knowing the correct search terms. Pop-ups based on behavior. So some of these pop-ups are always on the first visit. Then there's pop-ups for returning visitors, and then, of course, abandoned cart emails. So there's one person that asked a question, just to let you know. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, S-Z-E-M-E-R, Zemer. You missed the beginning of the webinar. It is going to be recorded, and at the end of the session, we'll definitely be sending out an email to everyone with the update. So don't fret about that. And then there's third-party tools. You can, there's ones like Personalize, Marketizator, Monoloop, Monetate, Aptus, Granify. There's a few that are listed there. And no, they're not sponsoring this webinar, are they? No, they're not. But we're giving out free information because, it really does make sense to use these third-party tools. There's no need to reinvent the wheel, and they really are helpful. So any information that you need additionally on them, we've had experience with them. Either we have personally or our clients have, so we'd be happy to share samples of that. Now we have Dave Grohl, who is one of our sponsors. No, okay, he's not one of our sponsors, but Dave Grohl is here demonstrating the virtualization or the virtual Tryon tool. This was something that we actually created for one of our clients. It's to help with the personalized experience. So we built this tool. It's for an eyewear client, and it's for the purpose of improving their customer experience. It allows users to use a picture of themselves, whether they upload it directly or they take a picture using their laptop or mobile device, and then apply various glasses frames, some of the options that they're interested in, to see how they would actually look in a lifestyle way. And then they compare these frames, one side by side. They can share that look via social media, and then they can gather feedback from different users, from friends and family. And think about it from the perspective of the seller, of your website. If you're actually getting them to share this information for free because they're looking for feedback, then it's actually a way to promote your site in that way as well for no additional charge. So these virtual Tryon tools are really helpful, and they really do personalize the experience for your users and for those that they share it with. And it takes imaging, what they look like, out of the equation. So it really does give them a personalized feedback directly based on their actual lifestyle needs and what they're hoping to achieve from visiting the site. So now we have another section here, and Reed's going to talk to you about optimizing your social media presence. So I'll let Reed take it away.
Hi, everybody. Reed Patterson again. Just wanted to add to Wes's discussion earlier about personalizing your content. So a lot of the third-party tools that he mentioned are things that you can install in the back end of your website or just log into, and then they'll allow you to automate emails. I think he talked about mentioning people by name. Most people are going to ignore emails that carry just a generic hello, but if you greet them by name, that's just one more touch point that, it shows it's at least a little more personalized and you're a brand, that you trusted. Now, for the last section of the webinar, I'm going to talk to you about optimizing your social media presence. This is, Weaver is telling us social media is where you build your business, and in 2017 and beyond, it absolutely is. If you're not on social media, you need to get there, and unless you're a social media superstar, I think there are always ways to improve your presence. How do we go about this? We suggest to all our clients, and this is a service we offer, but we suggest conducting a social media audit. It may sound a little intimidating, but really all it is assessing your current presence or lack of on all the social media platforms that are relevant to your business. I mean, this means, if you're a visually heavy business with a lot of glitzy and glamorous products, you definitely want to be on Instagram and Facebook. Another news-focused, service business might want to be on Twitter more often. You need to identify where your target audience is. So to conduct a social media audience, take a look. You want to write this down, keep a document. Where are you on social media? Do you have all the profiles set up, or do you need to set them up? Are you actively posting? Are you keeping track of the emails and passwords for each platform? Another thing you want to do is make sure that all of your social media profiles carry the same brand description, similar imagery. You want to create a consistent identity across the web. This helps people trust you. So once your profiles are complete, again, like I just mentioned, you want to maintain a consistency of content across all medias. This means that you can't be posting images that look different on Facebook to what you are posting on Instagram. You want to make sure that all the images and content are compelling, intriguing, and engaging. These are things you can go back to the section I talked about creating great content. There's a great checklist for copy, I think, for visual imagery and just for great content in general. Anytime you're making a Facebook post, before you hit post, just take a look. Is it solving as many of these bullet points as possible? Then, in your social media audit, just take a quick look at the last month or two. How often are you posting? Are the posts relevant to your business? Are you getting any engagement at all? And if you are you replying to these people? Are you, suggesting, all additional information that they can go to? And finally, just review, and that's what we were talking about now, reviewing your social media activities. Is there engagement? Are there feedback? What is your timeline and cycle? How often are you posting? And you may want to even consider, redesigning the posts that you've already done to see if any updates in terms of copy or images have any effect. So once you understand your social media performance currently, then you can begin to optimize your social media. And I just wanted to take, again, to avoid abstraction, I want to take a quick look at, what we consider to be a great Facebook profile. I'm sure you'll probably recognize the brand, Burts. We had to cover up some of their images. But, in a nutshell, this Facebook profile tells us everything we need to know. It carries the brand identity, and, it just exudes, an identity that their customers can relate to. They have a great background image. You can see it's been modified on the left with a few examples of their products and what goes into them. It's uplifting, exactly the way, Burts Bees wants to portray itself. Its Facebook profile picture, the little square on the lower left, is just their brand logo. There's a brief but telling about us section, and then related links to the different aspects of their website and their business, their photos, and other events and coupons. Everything works together, and if you are interested, I would encourage you to take a look at their Instagram, at their Pinterest, at their Twitter. You'll see everything is consistent across across their social media channels.
And no, they're not sponsoring us either.
They aren't. We just really like their products and the way they look. Now, again, we'd like to talk a little bit about, we want to give you guys some takeaways that you can put to use, right away. That you could create a blog post as soon as this webinar is over, applying our principles, and, we're hoping that, with better messaging, different images, you guys start to see some engagement or more engagement. So with the perfect Facebook post here, I'm not going to run through all of these, all the bullet points. I just want to go through the high-level ones. Messaging matters. Okay, you need to make sure that you have a purpose for each post. Facebook users love their links. If your content is intriguing, your images and your headlines are intriguing, they're going to want to know more. Where can they learn more? You want to point them towards your site. Timing is everything. Again, so now you can go back to Audit section to find out exactly who is on your site, when they're on your site, and what kind of engagement you're getting at different times. So let's say you post on Facebook at 10 a.m. and you're not seeing a lot of engagement. But if you post at 1 p.m. when people are taking their lunch and they're browsing their phones, you may see a spike in engagement. So as you learn and read your analytics more and just observe your user behavior on your social media channels, you'll be able to get the timing down. You want to use images that grab attention. Facebook loves image sizes 800 by 600 pixels. If you're just grabbing an image and trusting that it's going to fit the frame accordingly without modifying it in Photoshop or some other image modification program, you're probably not doing the best you can. So you want to make sure that all of your images are this size or, again, relevant to whatever feature or section of your social media profile they're going in, and there's lots of information about that out there. Let's say you do earn a comment. You want to engage with your audience in a timely way. You want to make sure you're answering any questions they have and maintaining your brand voice in your communications. Finally, with a perfect Facebook post, you need to make sure that it is optimized for mobile. So many people, 50% or more at this point, are using their mobile devices to check their their social media profiles, Facebook in particular. To make it even easier for you guys, we've included this excellent Facebook post blueprint. This is another checklist that you can run through whenever you're crafting a Facebook post. And again, this might be an eye-opener for some people, and it may not. But a lot of effort needs to go into what you're putting on your social media, because you'll find that if you're just posting every day on Facebook without a lot of thought behind it, you're putting in this energy, but you may not be accomplishing your goals. So I encourage everyone to look at that after the webinar. And if you have any questions, of course, you can reach out to us or ask them in the questions section below for the webinar. Finally, I want to tie all of this together. So we've been talking about great content. We've been talking about optimizing your social media profiles. We've been talking about defining goals that are trackable goals, and then being able to measure them through your tracking software, Google Analytics, etc. And what you're going to want to do this is almost like a business perspective. So just think of it as, your plan of action, your strategy for what you're going to do on your website and on your social media profiles and when. So this is what we call a content calendar. And it can be high level to begin with, but then you want to get very specific down to the day. So, this is going to tell you, and it's also going to take a lot of the headache out of, scrambling to come up with creative new content on the spot. With this calendar, you and your team know exactly what you're going to post and when and where. So, for example, every day of the week here is accounted for. Not only does this content calendar tell you what you're posting, a press release, a job posting, a blog post, just a pure image, or a magazine article. It's also talking about who the target audience is. So this way you can make sure that your copy and your images are directed at those people, and make sure that they solve any problems that these people have or concerns they have. You're also going to publish you're going to write down where you're going to be publishing these things. So not only are you posting on Facebook, but you're also pushing to LinkedIn. Or if it's more appropriate for a tweet, you're on Twitter, you're on Instagram, and of course your own blog page on your own website. So a content calendar, you can expand this on a monthly, or even, you can start with a year and then just drill back. And this is a great way, to take a step back and think about what are your goals for the year. I mean, do you want to increase website traffic? Do you want to increase website traffic? Are you looking to, increase the conversion rate? Do you want to build a bigger following on Facebook? Do you want to launch new products? Any goals you have, you need to, write them down, and then make sure that the content strategy that you're working on every quarter, every month, every week, and even every day are moving you towards what you're doing. So it might be trying to break into a new market or reach a new target demographic. It's going to be experimenting with, what time of day, what type of content is going to resonate most with your target audience. So again, the content calendar is going to be, your best tool to consolidate everything that we've been talking about. So you want to track, measure, and improve each piece of content. You want to make sure it's personalized, and you want to make sure it follows the tenets of great content, copy, and visual content. And so we want to conclude this portion of the webinar with our fifth way to improve your website performance, and this is simply through consistency. Now, you need to be consistent with developing great content, and I see that there's another couple of questions. We're going to get to those shortly. But you want to make sure that you're consistent. You need to be setting up a time each week to track your goals, your data. You need to set aside time each week to plan out your content calendar You need to make sure that you're posting in a timely way on your social media, and that your website is, being updated with, hopefully personalized content. And then you need to continue, doing this again and again. And believe me, over time, you're going to see results. Finally, before we get to the question and answer part of our seminar, I also wanted to mention, and this might be a question on some people's minds, is where do paid ads come into effect? And this is a great question because, Google is a business, Facebook is a business, and even with all this great content, you're not going to generate the followers and the likes that you might, organically it's going to be very difficult. And this is where social spending and Google AdWords spending comes into play. However, they are very high ROI, but before you can see the returns you want from these, you need to make sure that your foundations are set. This means you know how to create consistently valuable content for your social media and for your website. You need to make sure that your content is consistent, your Google Plus profile, even your content on, something like Yelp, on TripAdvisor. All of this content is consistent. You need to make sure your links, your business hours, everything, and then also that your brand voice is consistent. Once you have this infrastructure built and you're confident about your ability to produce great content, then you can start working on social spending. And on Google AdWords spending. You can start researching keywords, which is, you'll get into as you start creating great content. Keywords are important, and they're going to help people. It's going to help people narrow down, your business to help them solve their needs. And with that, I'm going to turn this back over to Wes. He'll take you to the conclusion of the webinar. But before that, I think Amit would like to answer one of the questions we have.
Sure. I believe that one of the questions is from Bidot, and his question is, given that Google has done away with PageRanker in the toolbar, what tool would you recommend to use to see PageRank? Well, technically, as you see, the Google PageRank tool is not available anymore. Google has done away with it, but PageRank is still used as a way to, as some sort of a factor in determining the ranking of your site. The only true way, there is no one true way of really getting a page rank anymore because the tools are outdated. It was retired about 3 years ago. Suggest if at this point the best estimate for you would be to start using tools like Moz and focus on getting your domain authority up. That should be the gauge for your success. And the higher the domain authority, the better is your rankings. In my opinion, that's what you should be looking at. Domain authority is a number which is based off of the content on your own site as well as the external links you have, and that's something you should be focusing more on. Although Google has done away with PageRank, but sites which had a PR 6 or higher are still doing pretty well on their search engines, because I think we are not seeing the PageRank, but they're still using it in the background to come up with the rankings of the site.
So some key webinar takeaways. Thank you, Amit. Some key webinar takeaways that we can just recap here for you. These steps present the key actions that will deliver the highest return on investment for your efforts. You'll want to explore on-page SEO, which you can learn more about on our website, and we can absolutely give you more information on that once we send out an email afterward. And then also, once you have these items on autopilot, you should really get into more advanced actions like paid search and social spending, as Reed was mentioning. And then if you pick one of these topics, whichever you think needs the most work, and start today, these small steps will lead to huge gains in just a few months. You will see results, and we can definitely help get you there. Not only are we going to open it up now to questions, but we will also, as was asked previously, send a recap of the recording of the webinar, along with ways for anyone who would like to have their questions answered. We are offering free 30-minute consultations, 30-minute, however long it takes to help you find the solutions that you need. We're more than willing to do that. So, Matthew, did you want to go ahead and pass it over?
I believe there's another question.
Oh, well, he's gonna take it there. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Matthew.
Thank you. We will now take questions. You may type your question in the question box in the presentation tab, or you can press star, then the number 1 key on your touch-tone phone to be placed into a queue. If your question has been answered or you wish to remove yourself from a queue, press the pound key.
So we do have one question here, an additional one. We've answered a couple of them. Another one from Bideau. What is the best way to organically grow followers for your company page in LinkedIn?
Well, see, I wish there was one set formula to really, help you grow your organic followers on LinkedIn. Obviously, it's given that you need to be up to date with your profiles. You need to have a company page where you're actually using all the benefits of the LinkedIn company page, which is there. From banners, all your employees are following you on LinkedIn, and their updates regularly being posted. I would suggest another way is you should start participating in some other forums or groups and start adding valuable content, which will add value to your page. There's another way which we see is going is that you will see there are some companies and there are some influencers who specialize in LinkedIn marketing. And if LinkedIn is your area of focus, I also suggest that you highly talk to them and see how they can help you, build that part of the following of base. At the end of the day, in my opinion, no matter what, all of these platforms really want your money. So you also have to start thinking about, I would say, a paid strategy with LinkedIn, which is more inbound traffic. How do you bring in? What do you give? What kind of ads you're running, and how does that translate into followers for you?
Another question that we have here from Danny. Where should I start? Which is best for an established site?
Okay, this is a great question. So we ran through, a lot of information here: content strategy, tracking, measuring your data, creating a personalized experience, and optimizing your social media profiles. Amit mentioned at the beginning about, plugging the low-hanging fruit. And these things are where you're going to see, some significant ROI right away. So a good one, that I always recommend to clients to begin with is, once you've established your brand voice, if you have a way that you guys, talk on your website, that you use in all your messaging, I would look at your social media profiles. I would start there and, make sure everything is consistent and really get a hand on creating the best possible content for your social media. This is, playing around with blog posts until you find what works, what engages your target audience, and, getting a little more adventurous. You want to also make sure that any blog posts that you're putting on your website are being pushed out to your social media. So conducting that social media audit I talked about in, I believe, Section 3 is a fantastic place to start. Another is, even if it's uncomfortable at first, you need to familiarize yourself at least with the basics of Google Analytics. And there are just a few key pages on Google Analytics, on Moz, on these sort of like tracking and web performance tools that you need to look at. You don't have to be a professional at this to understand how your site is performing. So I encourage you, those are two great places to start, because social media is a place to get your, your beak wet with creating great content, and getting started tracking and measuring, and then understanding, how your new content is performing is another great place to start.
We have a question from Arthur. It says, we touched on SEO. Can you tell me a little bit more about what I need to do for SEO on my site? Amit, would you like to address that?
Right. The key really is SEO these days is not really, the days of link building and directory submissions are gone. SEO is all about your on-site and off-site content. And really to dig deeper and understand what's involved on, and what's the SEO health of your site, we would have to take a deeper look at it. We would have to understand, analyze the site, and then after this webinar, if you can send us an email with some information, we're more than happy to give you our analysis.
Very good. We have a question here. It's unknown, but it says, if your organization doesn't currently utilize analytics, do you recommend starting with a free analytics package or moving toward a more advanced package? Amit is our analytics king. He lives, breathes, and eats analytics and these tools. He knows a lot of the best ones that we use, not only for our own site, so I'll let him answer that question as well.
Well, of course, I'm a big believer in free stuff. So if your organization is new to analytics and is not really using it, there is no need to go to an advanced package. These packages, which even the Analytics Enterprise version or the Adobe Site Catalyst or any of these which you're going to use, will run into quite, I would say a couple of thousand a month. And I don't think you should be spending that unless you get your team used to just making decisions based on basic analytics data. You can get Google Analytics. You can, if you're an e-commerce site, I'm pretty sure every platform gives you a basic reporting. Just make sure that your team gets in the habit of starting using those, and then you should, really, I would say, upgrade yourself to the advanced analytics package.
Yeah, you can just, if you create an account with Google Analytics, if you have a Gmail, you probably already have access to this. You'll be able to generate your own Google Analytics code, and then you, depending on what kind of site you have, you or your development team can paste that into the back end, and, within a couple of days, you'll be up and running with data for your site, and then you can get started tracking, your basic analytics, things like, where people are coming from, how many people are coming to your site, and, we're happy to offer a lot more information about how to conduct or how to read your analytics, and there's plenty of information available online as well.
Good. We have 2 more questions here so far. One is from Bridget. What are your thoughts on loyalty and rewards programs? This is something mostly, of course, for e-commerce. A lot of people come to us asking about them because it's increasing in different marketplaces and different e-commerce sites where a lot of companies are using this to really build loyalty, to really get people to engage further. And it's an opportunity for them to share these perks and these bells and whistles with other people. So it really does spread like a virus, when people start talking about them, and how they can build on the engagement. People returning back to the site. And a lot of these are offered via email. Some of them, once they have a login code, it builds or it keeps track of different, different credits or things like that. Amit, do you want to talk a little bit about loyalty and rewards as well, how you've seen that benefit?
I mean, loyalty and rewards, it all comes down to customer retention. It all comes down to, how do you really want to keep your customers engaged? A lot of this also is about, do you want to reward them for writing a review of the product? Again, it all depends upon your business goals, but I would say if you're really looking for good user-generated content, yes, we need to have a loyalty or rewards program. If you are looking, if you have a certain product or certain line or certain type of customers whom you want to really entice for really being, active on your site, again, these things is definitely a huge way to improve your conversions. And keep in mind, these are your existing customers, so your cost per acquisition is very less compared to going out in the market and spending money on ads to acquire a new customer. So the key is, if you can keep these customers happy, keep them engaged, and give them, rewards for buying, I mean, it's a win-win situation.
Then we have a question from Andy and then also from Paul, but they pretty much tie in together. How much does all this cost, and what should be my initial budget for social media? So, of course, we talked about a lot of different topics. So, asking for an overall cost is kind of hard. We really have to dig deep and understand what your specific needs are, what the features that you're looking for, not just from your online presence, but as far as content, social media, all of that. We really have to analyze it a little bit more. Amit, do you want to go ahead or Reed? Go ahead.
Yeah, let me jump in there. Actually, thanks, Wes. Again, why we created this webinar, and you'll get the document at the end and a recap of it as well, is because we don't think it's not necessary up front. If you are relatively web savvy, you can start doing a lot of this stuff on your own today, and it won't cost you anything in terms of money as much as your time. And then, you'll very quickly be able to figure out, hey, I can dedicate, because these things do take time. I mean, monitoring a very strong social media presence can take several hours a week or more, especially if you're developing content for your site. So, I mean, if you have the time and you're willing to learn, I think it's very fun, and it's great to see, engagement and conversions growing. So I would encourage everybody to at least get started with some of these suggestions on your own. And this will also help you talk intelligently with any company you are considering working with as your needs grow and, your marketing, needs grow. So,
and I think when it comes to budget, what is really important to understand is what exactly are your business goals. What is your 3-month plan? What is your 6-month plan? and then what can you do internally versus what you can do externally, right? Once you have those clear goals, it becomes very easy to start defining what kind of budget you should be having, how much will it cost, what should be the realistic expectation, and the desired KPIs. And I think that's something which really comes in once you start to dig deeper.
So once again, while it may be difficult for us to answer that question right now, the consultation that we're offering is absolutely free. So, we can dig a little bit deeper and help answer those questions like Reed was mentioning, whether you even need to work with an outside team, whether it makes sense to go ahead and invest more in some of these analytical tools. We can definitely let you know. We'll give you a free, non-biased, non-salesy consultation just to make sure that you're finding the solution that you need. We would be happy to do that for you. So even after this webinar, you're not restricted to questions only now, even though we only have a few minutes left. I'll be on live chat on our website, not only today, but always. So you can reach out to me on live chat. You can send us an email, and I'll be happy to answer any more questions that you have. And I can put you in contact, of course, with Amit or Reed, who can answer specific questions in regards to different parts of the webinar in more detail.
So, I think that comes to the end of the questions. I encourage anybody, anything at all that's still going on in your mind that we haven't addressed in the webinar, or that perhaps we talked too quickly about, or something that we didn't touch on, I encourage you, at the time remaining, to shoot us a question through the platform. And so we'd like to also thank you guys for sitting through an hour of, I think a lot of important information that you can put to work today and in the near future that's going to help you finish 2017 strong, and then, have a great handle on how to improve your website, improve your content, and ultimately improve your conversions for 2018 and beyond. So thank you, everybody, and we'll be here to answer any additional questions, unless Amit or Wes have anything to add.
So thank you again, everyone, for your time. On behalf of everyone here at DotcomWeavers, Amit, Reed, and myself, we look forward to hearing from you, and we'll be definitely reaching out after the webinar. But again, if there's anything that we can do to be of assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, because we give these free consultations, and our CEO here, Amit, he believes in good business karma. So if we're able to help you out in one way or another, we feel that it will it'll set a good example for the whole online space, which could be kind of mysterious and could be kind of daunting for some, but we're happy to help out and help share our experience and such with anyone who's interested.
So thank you guys for listening to 5 Ways to Improve Your Online Performance.